Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Dan, your host. Hope you're doing great wherever you may find yourselves. Blessings to all, and welcome to another episode where I talk about my favorite jazz musician of all time. And of course, I'm talking about the phenomenal, wonderful, and majestic, absolutely just a marvel, that is Miles Davis. And today's video is specifically about the evolution of Miles Davis live from 1969 to 1975. A brief or concise history. A great subtitle to this is The Essential Miles Davis Live Recordings. So in other words, these are the, in my humble opinion, the live recordings of Miles Davis you must have in your collection. Let's get started. The first is a collection, 4-disc set, the European Tour 1969. This is unfortunately out of print, but I've heard it many times thanks to the internet. And if you can find a copy of this, I would definitely suggest you get it at some point. I hope to grab this up, maybe if the prices come down from third-party sellers, that kind of thing, or maybe they put it back in print. But it is from the Bootleg Series Volume 2. I don't think they said they were going to reissue it, that it was, limited edition, that kind of thing. But anyway, so you get July 25th set, July 26th set, November 5th set, and the DVD is the November 7th set, again, all 1969. There's a lot of standout tracks here, but I'm just going to talk about two of them very briefly. And my two favorite songs on this entire collection, like I said, a lot of wealth of material here. That would be the live version of Footprints and the live version of Nefertiti, which is one of my favorite Miles Davis songs of all time. So great live recording of that. And the lineup here is such a wonderful lineup, pretty much a short lineup. They didn't stay together that long. That's part and parcel to what Miles Davis did, always changing things up, creating tension to create really good music. And he was the maestro at that, at motivating people by creating tension. All right, so Miles Davis on trumpet, Dave Holland on bass, Jack DeJohnette on drums, Chick Corea on piano and electric piano, mostly electric piano, and the wonderful, fabulous, majestic, and phenomenal Wayne Shorter on tenor and soprano sax. Now, what's interesting is the chemistry and the synergy, as I hinted at, is just a marvel. And again, it's too bad that they didn't continue as, this wonderful quintet for longer. However, you do get this, which I don't think is in print anymore, Miles Davis, The Lost Quintet. This is still in Europe, this is the radio broadcast November 9th, 1969 from Rotterdam. And this one is the final second set, never before released until it came out here on Sleepy Night Records. As you can see, they're promoting Bitches Brew from the album art, a reinterpretation of the Bitches Brew album cover. Of course, Bitches Brew does not come out until 1970, and they're touring some of the songs on 1969. This live set, you only get 4 songs: Directions, Bitches Brew, Sanctuary, and Masqualero. And why this is a must-own is because the tracks here are alternative versions of the tracks I just read off to you. It's historic because this quintet never released any material recorded in the studio. Okay, let me repeat that. This lineup never released any material whereby they recorded in the studio. And what's also historic and why this is essential and a must-own piece in your Miles Davis collection is because the music here doesn't sound like anything on Bitches Brew, despite the fact that the song titles are the song titles. And again, it's the same lineup: Miles, Dave Holland, Jack DeJohnette, Chick Corea, and Wayne Shorter. This is a must-own, folks. It's marvelous. It's great. If you thought you knew what those songs were, well, they're reinterpreted here. Lots of improvisation, of course, because they're so different and are very different. They don't sound anything like, again, as I said, on the definitive versions on said Bitches Brew. All right, now, next, going to be partially chronological here, but I can't be fully chronologically, I can't be fully chronological here because this is 1969 and 1970. So the first 3 tracks here are from the 1969, the Newport Jazz Festival. You get Miles Runs the Voodoo Down, Sanctuary, and you get It's About That Time / The Theme, which are all wonderful. But then you get 1970, The Isle of Wight. 4 through 9 are the tracks. You get Directions, Bitches Brew, It's About That Time, Sanctuary, Spanish Key, and The Theme. This is a must-own, but now you just have a quartet. So you don't have Wayne Shorter anymore. You just have Miles, Chick Corea, Dave Holland, and DeJohnette on here. But this is a must-own for the Isle of Wight, and because of the Newport Festival. I like the Isle of Wight more because you have more songs, and it's a little bit more. Both have amazing energy and chemistry and synergy, but there's a lot more of just a Miles Davis is fantastic on both, but there's a little bit more oomph to what Miles Davis, and that's saying something. So this is a must-own. All right. Next, one of my favorites, and this is the bootleg series version of Miles Davis at the Fillmore East, March 7th, 1970. You have 4 discs here, June 17th, June 18th, June 19th, and June 20th. I forget which of those 4 dates is the one from the original 1-disc version, but regardless, it's wonderful. Each night is a little different, even though he's playing mostly the same songs. There are a little changes here and there. Excuse me. A couple bonus tracks here that were not included on the original version. And your lineup is Miles Davis, of course. Now you have Steve Grossman on tenor and soprano, replacing Wayne Shorter. Chick Corea is still here. He is the left channel, and Keith Jarrett, organ, tambourine, right channel. Dave Holland bass, Jack DeJohnette on drums, and Erto Moreira on percussion, flute, and vocals. This is fabulous. Different lineup, some of the same guys around, but just as magical. One of the beautiful things about Miles Davis is that he liked to change lineups, okay, to experiment, and for other reasons. He liked to create tension because he really believed, and it shows, and the proof is in the material out there, the recordings, both live and studio. He believed that in creating tension in the band, he would create wonderful music, and it shows. Not how many artists can do that, right? So, all right. So this is a must-own. I don't think this is in print anymore, just like the Bootleg Series Volume 2, Europe 1969. But if you can find it, this is definitely worth having. So that's the Fillmore East. Now we go to the Fillmore West. This is Black Beauty. You have the same lineup that I just shared with you for live at the Fillmore East. This is April 10th, 1970. The previous show, Fillmore East, was March 7th, 1970. The tracks here are fantastic. And let me get my booklet out. You get Directions, Miles Runs the Voodoo Down, Willie Nelson, great. I Fall in Love Too Easily, great. It's all great. Sanctuary, It's About That Time. Then disc 2 is Bitches Brew, Masqualero, Spanish Key / The Theme is the 3rd track. This is This is a 2 CD set. This looks very metal, does it not? All right, so I kid, of course, but it is heavy in the Miles Davis vein. So this is a fabulous recording, and as I said, the same recording as live at Fillmore East. What a wonderful, though different, recording. Lineup. And as much as I love Wayne Shorter, and I prefer Wayne Shorter to Steve Grossman, Steve Grossman is got all the right moves as well. Just a different player, a different tone. But it works. It's wonderful. And boy, Keith Jarrett. I'm just, the older and older I get, I'm just a big fan. I've been exploring some of his solo stuff. Really good stuff out there. I'm late to his solo stuff. So anyway, great stuff. So next is the Cellar Door Sessions. This is December 1970, a 6-disc set. I've talked about this before. This was not released until 2005. And I got it, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. I paid a pretty penny for it from a third-party seller, but boy, was it worth the wait, and boy, was it worth the money. As you know, Live Evil comes out in 1971, November 17th, taken from the Cellar Door Sessions, but this is live and studio, but I will go and include it here just on record that this is a must-own if you're talking about studio, but it's also a must-own if you're talking about live material. But I'm going to just focus on this. The lineup, of course, is Miles Davis. You get Gary Bartz on soprano and alto sax. So yet again, he's changed the the sax player. Keith Jarrett still in the band, thank goodness. Fender Rose electric piano and Fender electric organ, wonderful, wonderful instruments. Michael Henderson on bass, so no more Dave Holland. Jack DeJohnette still on drums. Erto Moriera still on percussion, but only CD 2 and 6. And then perhaps one of my favorite parts of the gang here, members, is John McLaughlin on discs 5 and 6 only. He was late to the concert here at the Cellar Door Sessions. If you know Neil Young's live album where he recorded at the Cellar Door, I can't remember the name of that live album, but that's wonderful as well, but a whole different vibe, of course, different type of music. But he didn't know the songs and he was late, so strike one, strike two, and yet he felt his way around, and boy, it's fabulous what he does here. Discs 2, 5, and 6 are my favorite, and essentially 5 and 6 really because of I'm a big John McLaughlin fan. He didn't know the songs, and yet, boy, it's so intense. This is a must-own. If you can still get this on MP3 from Amazon, it's like $40, 30 or $40, so it's worth having. What a wonderful lineup. And of course, the song Inamorata was inspired by Hendrix because he's building a friendship with Hendrix during this time period from 68, 69 through the time of his death. And this song Inamorata is a Hendrix-inspired tune, and it's an homage to the Hendrix song Power to Love from Band of Gypsies. What a great collection of discs here at Cellar Door Sessions. All right, so next, you get The Lost Septet, November 5th, 1971, also from Sleepy Night Records. Let me talk about this for a minute. This lineup never recorded in the studio, so it's a lost, like the previous Lost Quintet, a lost moment. So it's called The Lost Septet, in the previous one, The Lost Quintet, because of the fact, I should have spoken about this early, because they never recorded in the studio. Who do you have here? Miles Davis, Gary Bartz, Keith Jarrett, Michael Henderson, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Joe Leon Chandler on drums. So Jack DeJohnette is gone. Charles Don Alias on percussion, and James Matume Foreman also on percussion. And if you know anything about Leon Chandler on drums, he performed and played with Michael Jackson and, of course, Santana. And here is, there's no guitar, but you have Miles Davis on wah-wah trumpet to imitate that Hendrix-type influence that he loved so much. Here are the tracks. You have, this is a 2 CD set, unlike the previous Lost album in the 2-disc series. So CD 1 is Directions, Honky Tonk, What I Say, Sanctuary. CD 2 is About That Time, Yesternow, Funky Tonk, and Sanctuary Reprise. This came out in 2020, Sleepy Night Records, so I think that's about the same time the Lost Quintet came out, because I think both of those came out at the same time. Also had to get this from the United Kingdom, from a third-party seller. It's fabulous. So the tracks are wonderful. Yes, it's some of the same tracks on much of what I have in this collection, but it's jazz. It's worth having an alternate or different version or a different night because of the energy is different, the lineup is different, the synergy, the vibe, whatever. Just the overall the energy is going to be different, but it's still great. All right. Next is In Concert. Okay. This is September 29, 1972. This follows the studio album On the Corner. Miles, of course, on trumpet. Carlos Garnett on soprano and tenor, so changing of the guard with tenor and soprano sax once again. Cedric Lawson on electric piano and synthesizers. Reggie Lucas is on guitar. More of him later. Khalil Balakrishnan on electric sitar. Sorry if I butchered that name. Michael Henderson on bass. Al Foster on drums. Battle Ray on tablas, and Matume on percussion. So some of the same members, not some of the same members, but it's amazing, very funky, as you know, if you know the On the Corner sessions or just the original single CD. I have the whole 5 or 6 CD set on MP3 and the original version on CD. Boy, this is some heavy, funky stuff. This is glorious, folks. The track listing, CD1, Rated X, Honky Tonk, theme from Jack Johnson, over 10 minutes. Black Satin / the theme, over 14 minutes, is just marvelous. And then, hold on, folks. Then you get Ife, almost 30 minutes, well, 27, almost 28 minutes in Right Off / the theme, 10.5 minutes. What a great I love 2 CD collections, whether studio or live. If they're good, of course, this is fabulous. All right. Next is Dark Magus, excuse me, March 30th, 1974. Of course, 2 CD set, weird album cover. Miles Davis on wah wah trumpet and Yamaha organ. Dave Lieben on flute, soprano, and tenor sax. Again, changing of the guard with respect to sax and flute is wonderful. Azar Lawrence on tenor. Reggie Lucas on guitar. Pete Cosey on guitar. Now I'm going to mention them or talk about them a little more, because this is 2 of the greatest guitar players in all of jazz history when it comes to heavy, funky guitar playing. And of course, they are in many ways the stars of the show next to Miles on Agharta and Pangea, but we'll get to those. Dominique Gomez on guitar, if I'm pronouncing that right, Michael Henderson on bass, Al Foster drums, Matume on percussion. This is fabulous. You have Moja Parts 1 and 2, both epic tracks over 12 minutes long. Willie Parts 1 and 2, WILI, also epic tracks. Then you have disc 2, my favorite of the 2 discs, although I like all of it here. Tattoo Part 1, Tattoo Part 2, which contains parts of Calypso Frelimo. NNE, Nene, Part 1, which is essentially Ife, over 15 minutes long, and then NNE, Nene, Part 2, over 10 minutes long. This is amazing, some different textures and layers, similar to some of the stuff we've heard before, but incorporating songs and within songs kind of thing, but it's great. I love this. All right, now, next is a precursor to Agharta and Pangea, because you get Live in Tokyo, but it's January 22nd, 1975, 10 days before the wonderful February 1st recordings of Agharta and Pangea. This is much different from what's to come. It's a radio broadcast, but it's wonderful. You have Miles on trumpet and organ, Al Foster on drums, Henderson on bass, Reggie Lucas on guitar, Matume on percussion, Pete Cosey on percussion, guitar, and synthesizer, and Sonny Fortune on soprano, alto, and flute. So again, changing of the guard with respect to that instrument or instruments. It's still glorious. Here it is. And Prelude and Funk, Maisha, Ife, then disc 2, Matume, Turnaround Phrase, then Tune in 5, and Untitled. This is amazing. I love it. All right. Still comes in third compared to the next 2, but hey, it's still great. I love it. Then you get Agharta and Pangea. February 1st, 1975 is when they were recorded. Agharta afternoon of 1975, Pangea in the evening of 1975, February 1st again. Miles on organ and trumpet, Sonny Fortune on alto, soprano, and flute. Pete Cosey and Reggie Lucas just light it up. They are to these 2 live albums what John McLaughlin is to Cellar Door Sessions on discs 5 and 6. Again, that Hendrix-esque stuff that Miles wanted in his band because he couldn't get Jimmy himself. Henderson on bass and Foster on drums, Matume on congos, percussion, water drum, and rhythm box. And I did a video on these 2 albums already when I did my celebration of the 50th anniversary of these, which was a couple weeks ago. But just know the songs here. Prelude, over half an hour. Maisha, over 12 minutes. Disc 2, Interlude, almost 27 minutes. Theme from Jack Johnson, just over 25 minutes. This is beyond an A+. This is a 12 out of 10. This is an 11 out of 10. You get 2 songs, 2 discs though. You get Zimbabwe, almost 42 minutes, and then Gondwana, almost 47 minutes. The African themes in the titles are wonderful, and hints of that in music. And you have just a wonderful celebration of African culture, but also a celebration of jazz culture, celebration of improvisation, a celebration of just a wonderful lineup of wonderful jazz musicians. Thank you so much for watching. I think, again, I get goosebumps just talking about all of these CDs. They are wonderful. So you have 1, 2, and most of them are 2 discs, 3, 4, 5, 2 discs or more, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, going backwards, and then 13, live in Europe, 1969, which I don't have, but 13, a baker's dozen of wonderful Miles Davis live recordings. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. God bless. See you next time.